So, today we are looking at intervals again. So we are on page number 34 in your workbooks. Now it goes out saying, we should have our workbooks by now. Please get them arranged if you don't. So, it'll be very lonely at home. So, am I even in the picture here? No, but I will be if I turn around like this. So, 34. So, up until now, we have worked with major and minor intervals. And so we worked out that major intervals were created if the top note of the interval fits the bottom note scale. Correct?
Correct.
Fully correct or only partially correct?
Partially.
Why? What's the other type of interval we can have that fits with the scale? No, what are the other types of intervals we have that are created from the notes of the bottom note scale? Major and?
Minor.
No, minor is where you lower it by a semitone. Diminished, no, we haven't even learned diminished yet. Come on, it's being videoed. What's the other main type of interval we've learned about? We learned them in year 10. Major and? Thank you, who was that? Perfect, good. By the way, you were the most consistent person to hand in all work every week. Well done. Congratulations. Yes, so we've talked so far about major and perfect intervals. So they were the intervals that were created if the top note of the interval fits in the bottom note's major scale. So let's see if we can now cast our minds back. Which are the perfect intervals? Fourth, fifth, the last one, which is the octave and
six.
No, fifth, fourth, octave and one more. Yeah, the first one, which is the unison. Great. So unison, fourth, fifth, and octave are perfect intervals, and then the second, third, fifth, so sixth and seventh are our major intervals. If we wished to make those major intervals minor, what did we do? Big voice. Yeah, how do we make a major into a minor? Well, yes, sort of. You not always need to add a flat, but you're on the right track. You lower the top note by a semitone. Because if it was a sharp, it would become a natural. That's what I'm saying. But yes, you're right. Did you know that you could actually, if you were in a question where they asked you to adjust the bottom note, you could actually push the bottom note up by a semitone and get the same result? It still makes intervals smaller. In other words, we say a minor interval is a semitone smaller. Normally we bring the top note down. But I thought I'd let you know that you could actually bring the bottom note up and still get a minor interval. So that brings us to today where we've got some new intervals. So, diminished interval. A diminished interval, and I'll read straight from Deborah Smith's work because she is the expert at this. A diminished interval is created by taking a perfect or minor interval and making it one semitone smaller. Or a major interval by making it two semitones smaller. I will now break that down into some simpler language, even though it was relatively simple there. Here is a major third, right here. I'm going to use my pen. So here is a major third here, and it should come up on the screen with some highlighting in a second. There we go. It's a little delayed, but it's there. So there is a major third. We know it to be the interval it sounds like this. With the piano's on, which is like. Major third. We have learned that here, if you flatten, no, that looks really bad, so I'm going to dodge it here. That's better. If I flatten that top note, that becomes a minor third. There you go, and I'll highlight it there. I'm very impressed with my new toys. So, major third, minor third, and whoops, we're really doing well here. And that's it. And finally, the last interval here is our diminished third. What is that sign right there? Anyone know what it's called? We've seen it before. It's a...
Which sign is that?
Double flat. This one right here, the one that I've just put the... Yep. So that is... That is a double flat. Cool. There's your double flat. So, because this is going through the school's Wi-Fi, there's a delay. What happens is it goes through here to the Wi-Fi, through the network, and back to my computer to then get on the screen. Whereas when I'm at home, it's like pretty much instantaneous. But anyway, we'll survive. So that is a double flat, which means the note has been lowered by 2 semitones. So we've gone from major to minor third. So if that note comes down, you've got what's called a diminished third. Now, let's have a look on the piano keyboard here at what those notes were. So, what notes were they? There's C, and I'm not going to draw this yet, I'm just pointing using my pointer here. C to E was a major third, correct? C to E flat is a minor third. That note looks like it's a D. It says D on there, doesn't it?
Yes.
But it can also be called E double flat. So every note has multiple names. It's a bit like I can be Mr. Sluice, I can be Chris, I can be Mad Dog. You know, we've got lots of different names.
Wait.
But, and same with notes, E, E flat, E double flat. But it really looks like a D, doesn't it? That looks like it's a D. Correct?
Yes.
So, and I just drew on the wrong one, but I'll try again. Try this one. So that is it. So that is E double flat, or it can also be known as D. So, in reality, what's that sounding like? What's C to D? A second, yeah. So this diminished third really sounds like a second. So, in oral studies, when we do questions using our ears, I'll never ask you to identify diminished intervals. Because you can't tell the difference between, say, a diminished third and a major second, because they sound the same. In fact, you could write diminished second and you'd get the answer right. But let's keep it simple. You write major second, yeah? Rather than diminished third. So it is a theoretical concept that we need to be aware of. So basically, the main thing we need to remember is majors, when they're lowered, become minor. When minors are lowered, again, they become diminished. So it's sort of like a process there. Now, there's nothing more than that. We don't lower them again to make them like super diminished or anything like that. Any questions so far about that? Because I don't want to move on until I've got thorough understanding. What's what? This one here? So that's minor third. So major third, minor third, and if you lower it a second time, diminished third. Cool? Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Good. I appreciate that you all asked. Okay, now a similar thing can be done here. As I mentioned, you can also, rather than bring the top note down, you can bring the bottom note up. It still gets the same result, because if you have a look here, this is C, or C natural. If you do C sharp, what have you done? Oops, that's the dodgiest sharp I've ever drawn. It's a bit hard to write on the iPad when I'm standing. I usually have it on the desk. I could, but I like standing. I've been sitting for 6 weeks straight. You know, it's good to be on my feet. So that's a C sharp. So what have we done? That bottom note has done what? Gone up or down? Yeah. So what's happened is that bottom note has gone up. So here's the major third. I'm going to bring that bottom note. So I brought that bottom note up. Is that a minor interval?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the grand sleeve interval. And what I guess we're learning today for the first time is that I've always told you to make an interval minor, you lower the top note. But in reality, the theoretical explanation is you make the interval smaller by a semitone. And that interval can be made smaller by bringing the top note down. That makes sense. Is the distance closer? But similarly, you can push the top note up. Now, you won't do that often in my questions in my exams, but you will do them from time to time. It does sort of form the basis of when we do intervals below a given note. But anyway, so coming back to this, if I move that interval up to C sharp, that becomes a minor third. So if we make that interval smaller again by using this symbol, what is this symbol here? Anyone know what that is?
Which one? Double sharp.
That's a double sharp. Now, you might not have seen that symbol before. But like a double flat lowers a note by 2 semitones, a double sharp raises a note by 2 semitones. Do you see these very often in music? No. But they are there sometimes. They are used occasionally. They're not a big appearance. I probably see one in printed music a few times a year. Obviously, I'm a musician, so I see a lot more music than a lot of people. But even as a musician that works in music all the time, I mean, obviously I see it in the textbook teaching you the concept, but I'm talking about sheet music. When I'm working in sheet music, I'd see a double sharp a couple of times a year at most. It's not that common, and mostly in classical music. You rarely see them in contemporary music. Okay, and so I'll just play those now. Here's that major third again. If I bump the bottom note up by a semitone, minor third, and then if I bump that bottom note up again, does that sound like a second? what we're expecting. So the diminished third sounds like a major second. Cool. I'm going to move on because there's a bit to look at in other contexts. Other concepts to look at.
So what time is this break?
12:45. Well, I think because we're on level 1, we actually don't get dismissed for another 5 minutes to allow for... Have you been told about that?
Yeah.
Basically, if you're on level 1, the lunch break starts 5 minutes later, just so level 2 have a chance to get out before we go through, so there's not a big crush.
So what time do
So we'll finish class at 1:45, but like the learning will stop then, if we haven't stopped already, but I'll let you out the door 5 minutes later. Yeah. Okay, now, we've also got another couple of interval types. There's the augmented interval. So, I didn't really explain what the word diminished means, and this is an important thing to look at from an English perspective too.
Does it get smaller?
What does the word diminish mean in general? What were you saying then?
I was like, meaning for it to get smaller or...
It's to do with smaller, yeah. Anyone ever heard of, say, a person in court who's convicted of a crime, and they say, I am going to plead not guilty due to diminished capacity? Anyone ever heard of that one? Or any watch like LA Law or whatever? Judge Judy. What it means is that person's saying they have lowered mental capacity, so that's why they didn't know they were doing the wrong thing. Yeah. Or we might say that when prescribing medication, we try to put things into place that diminish the side effects. Ever heard that used in that capacity, maybe? So diminished means to reduce or make smaller. Cool? So that's where the word diminished comes from. It's not just a musical term. And similarly, we're about to look at augmented intervals, and I've just flipped my iPad around here. I could, but I would have to go into the thing. I'll do that. Maybe do that later. But then it's easy because then sometimes I want to rotate it. Anyway, I'll do my best to hold it still, hey? The word augmented, in general, what does the word augment mean?
Augment.
Take a guess. I will augment my argument by giving 3 specific examples. Better or bigger, yeah, bigger, yeah. So to augment something is to make it bigger. So if you have a nose job and you want to make your nose bigger, that would be called a nose augmentation. I'm just thinking of a medical term. There's other augmentations I won't go into. So yeah, that gives you a guess. The word augment means to make bigger. Hello, Mr.
I'm looking for Avatar.
Yep, he's right over here.
For 2 minutes.
Yeah, cool. So the word augment means to make bigger. And so you're probably guessing here that an augmented interval is an interval that is bigger. And in this case, we're going to talk about the perfect interval, because perfect intervals, we mentioned before, perfect intervals don't get adjusted. Did I say that?
Yes.
I said only to a certain point. I probably said something like later on we will. I would have just had a disclaimer, but for the time being, back in earlier chapters of this textbook, ladies, we weren't adjusting perfects. Perfects certainly did become minor, for example. But perfects can become augmented. Let's have a look at this perfect fourth right here. C to F. That's our perfect fourth. We are recording, so I won't sing the song that usually goes with that one. But yes. So there's the perfect fourth. And if we raise the top note, in this case, does that make the interval bigger? Yes, because the F goes up to F sharp. And that is augmented fourth. Anyone recognise that interval from our interval list? Yeah, what was that interval? Tritone. So we called it a tritone originally because it was 3 tones apart. It actually does have a proper name. And tritone's a proper name as well. But like it does have a number-based name as well. The augmented fourth. So if you take a perfect interval and raise it by a semitone, it becomes augmented. And that was the part I wanted to get to. Okay, let's move on because we've got plenty to do. I think we've covered everything we need to know. There are a few other things that can occur. I can tell you now, major intervals can also become augmented by making them bigger. And perfect intervals can become diminished by making them smaller. But I'm not going to worry about that now. We'll save that for another lesson. So let's practice a few intervals and do these together. So we're almost coming to the end of this lesson as far as video goes, because then what we'll do is we will do a few. Well, we'll discuss stuff outside of the video, but just for tonight, not tonight. Who's away today? Tele. I'm going to start with T. Tele. Hey Tele. Hope you watch this online. Here we go with working through a few questions. We'll work through the first 3, and then after the video, we can do the rest of the class. So let's have a look at this first one here. Who can tell me firstly what is the name of that note? Excellent. So let's pop that in here. Can I be seen in the camera? Yes, I can. I'm sitting down on the chair here. So F, there we go. You're in the video. It's actually showing what's on the screen here, directly on the screen, like I did from home. So, and Telly's got a tiny little picture of me in the bottom corner, like we had at home. So that's an F. Excellent. So first things first. What note is? I wish my daughter would stop sending me SMSs because they will keep on popping up at the top of my iPad. So what note is a 6th above F? D, thank you, D. Got it. Okay, cool. Next question. What is F major's key signature?
B flat.
Okay, so let's just pop that in there to make sure we know. Okay, final question. Is that D affected by the B flat key signature? No, because it's not B flat, it's D, yeah. So it's D, so it's not affected. So what are we looking at right here at the moment? It's not a minor 6. Right now we've got a... Excellent. How do we make it minor? Let's lower the top note. Because we're not allowed to adjust the given note, we'll lower the top note. Okay, we're going to do 2 more, and then the rest we'll do after the video. Okay, so give you a second to write that in. Cool. Are we ready to move on? Let's look at this. What's this next note here? That is a D. So I'll write that there. It's a D. Good. Before we work out any key signatures, what note is a 2nd above D? E, yeah, E, yeah. D, E. A, B, C, D, E. Yep, sing through the alphabet if you need to. Okay, next question. What is the key signature of D major? Let's go. When we go through order of sharps. Father Christmas gets drunk. Takeaway 2. Father Christmas. Yeah, you got it. So D major needs F sharp and C sharp. Yep, this is the process we've been following while we're away. Yep. Okay, cool. And last but not least, is that note there either F sharp or C sharp? No. So currently we are looking at a what sort of 2nd? Yeah, it's a major 2nd right now because that E isn't affected by the key signature. Yep. So we're looking at a major 2nd. So we want to diminish this interval. So how many times do we need to flatten it? Twice. Got it. So 1, 2. Cool. Great. Let's do 1 more, and then we will leave the video for today. And the task, if you're at home, is to finish the rest of this line, and then you can complete the oral questions in your own time using your computer, because if you're not aware, and I'm talking to the video people right now, anyone who's reviewing, if you click on those little icons, that will play you the question. So there's no point in me putting in the video and taking up time. You can practice that on your own and get feedback when you're back at school, ASAP. So let's do 1 more here, though, on the book. And this is a perfect 4th. So firstly, what's this note here? It is. So I'll label that. E. Cool. What is a 4th above E? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. No, H. I'm just being funny. What did we go back to? A. Got it. In the exam, I'll hear you all singing A, B, C, D. No exams this semester. Okay. Next question. That bottom note is an E. What's E major's key signature? Let's say the order of sharps together. Father Christmas gets drunk at every. Takeaway 2. Father Christmas gets drunk at.
Father Christmas gets drunk.
Yeah.
So FC.
G and D. Okay, now we're doing a perfect interval. So does it need to match the bottom note scale or be lowered? Perfect? There used to be a show on TV called Perfect Match. That's way too long. It was the 80s. Okay, it was a dating show. It was really sad. But yeah, perfect. It really was, seriously. But it was quite funny. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Yeah, perfect. So perfect interval needs to match the bottom note scale. That's a what? What did we say it was? A. Cool. Any A's there in the key signature? No, so we can leave it. Okay, I'm trying to keep my videos short and sweet, so we're going to leave it there. Anyone working from home, hope you've enjoyed this. Please get the rest of the page down to the bottom of page number 35, page 35, completed for when you're back at school. Au revoir.